So thank you very much for inviting me here today to talk about what is a very important program, not only in the Human Foods Program, but across the agency. And we want to talk about partnerships, and we partner in our agency across all the centers in the Human Foods Program, across the federal, all the different centers at FDA, and we just published a paper in Science on how we're partnering together, across our federal family, and then internationally. So, and with our stakeholders, and we want to talk a little bit, and we're going to put out how we can work with our stakeholders through RCAs, through content, through MOUs, and like to advance this knowledge. So, starting with, I think Omari probably went this through, and people have talked about how we want to react quickly and decisively when we see a problem. And currently, the animal studies, though they give us good data, we can't use them. We can't see a problem in food and say we'll be back in a couple of years when the animal study is done to tell you whether it's safe or not. So we really want to develop these, and we are developing them with everybody else. It's hard to see when the slides are. So FDA's alternative program, we are expanding our qualification program. We have policy and guidance. But well, basically what happened was the Office of the Chief Scientist directed all of FDA to work together and to develop a qualification program. And that we did both of those together through the Human Foods Program, but we also work with the other parts of FDA to do that too. So Mari talked a little bit about qualification. Qualification is a conclusion that within a stated context of use, the results can be relied upon without additional data. And I think that this is something that we then put forward in ICFAM too. So they now adopted the context of use qualification terminology too. And actually the context of use is going to dictate how much data you're going to need to have faith in that study. So if it's a screen, you're not going to need as much as it's a pivotal study that might be replacing something that we use in animals. In other words, like I like to ask myself, what's the consequences of a wrong answer? And if it's not that much, we don't go forward with the screens. But if it could really give a wrong answer and put something on the market that isn't really correct, then we want to ask for more. And this is in addition to, so this is how, and in developing NAMs, this is why we are encouraging everyone to come in and talk to us before you start on this program in order to help you guide this. So this was just a picture of the first qualification program that FDA had was iSTAND, and iSTAND really, they started with biomarkers, they did context of use, and now they have iSTAND. And iSTAND is for drugs and biologics, but we also built our program Entree after iSTAND. So Entree is our program for I can't remember what it stands for. Entree is FDA's program for qualifying human food. It starts with a meeting to talk to us about it, and then a letter of intent. The letter of intent is the same criteria that's in iSTAND or ICFAM. So there's a lot of times where we're going to be working with ICFAM on something, or we have a couple of things, but iSTAND and Entree are working together on new approach methods that, for example, our neuromuscular junction on a chip, where it has both drug use and human food use. So we've designed the programs to do it. And the questions are, you're going to look at the biological relevance. You want to establish that the NAM with reasonable certainty identifies what is seen in vivo, and then you're going to look at the technical characterization, which I think is pretty standard for everything, sensitivity, specificity, those type of things. So, okay, here's Entree for piloting program, engaging NAMs for toxicant regulation and effects, Entree, and we can say fast for the title. So that works there. And we're going to develop and qualify it to assess the toxicity of chemicals and contaminants. Omari did a little about this, a pilot program. And I will say that I've talked to Steve Romanski, being the chair of Entree. So we will be seeing him. We do have a couple of things that we're looking at already that are coming in as things that we can look at to test the program. And then we're also going to, okay, start, there's a letter of intent. This is the same letter of intent if you were going to either ICFAM for your qualification, you were going to ISTAM, which is the drug and biologics qualification. You come first, you send the letter of intent to say you want to develop it. They invite you in to talk with us about it, and then you put in your proposal. So this is the information you need, not only in the context of use, and in any qualification, the context of use is the hardest thing to develop. And after that, everything is pretty easy because it's pretty standard. Your applicability domain, your reference chemicals, sensitivity and specificity, intra and interlaboratory reusability. This is up in question because sometimes these methods are so complex that you're not going to find another lab in which to do it. This is something that we're talking about in ICFAM and we're talking about here. So we may need something other than transferability to an entire lab. Otherwise, none of these complicated methods will get qualified. So that's something that actually we're talking to ICFAM about, maybe having a workshop on this, like we've done other things. We had done in the past on check your gut, which is on gut models, because the first thing for food, the first question is what's bioavailable, and we want to look at those models. So, oh, can you not hear me? Sorry. It's hard not to see the screen there. So now you want to talk about this. We have, as I said, we have a relationship with the other agencies. We have Tox 21, which is FDA, EPA, NCATS, and Tox 21 was really the first partnership between federal agencies on this. Now they've expanded that, we also feel that, and the Human Foods Program is the representative to the Tox 21 program, and we still meet every other week to talk about our common goals. In fact, we just received a paper from Rusty Thomas on looking at using Tox 21 data to look at the reliability of the rodent bioassay that Omari and I both worked on. We have ICFAM, as I said, and ICFAM is our co-chair ICFAM. We just put out the latest federal guidance on qualification validation of new approach methods. We do have a definition for new approach methods on the FDA's alternative website, so we're not bereaved of that, our own definition, and we defined it in the science paper that we put out, that the senior author was Chad Nelson, and it was chaired by the deputy commissioner of FDA. So what we're doing now is we have, in ICFAM, we have developed a neuromuscular junction on a chip for not only botulism toxin testing to get rid of the mouse lethality test, but also in general for toxin testing. And we're taking it to ICFAM and we've sent in the context of use to look at through ICFAM and possibly even through OECD, this new neuromuscular junction on a chip. This is the first chip that's ever been, any microphysiological chip that has been validated by any group. So, so you can see all of the people that are working on ICFAM. We are also taking it, and I don't know if I put it here. We are also, okay, here's our chip now. This is Curo Bio. This Curo Bio is really the example for the Airways Complementary Program, because we went to NCAS just trying to get some money to develop this, and instead they put out two solicitations to develop a neuromuscular junction on a chip and to work with the FDA to qualify it. And this was before the Airways Complementary Program came out, but it leads an example of what we're doing. So we're taking Curo Bio to ICFAM to qualify it, and as an example for the if you look at the Curo Bio complementary program, that's what it says. Really, they give a solicitation to an outside stakeholder. They work with FDA to qualify it, but first we're going to qualify it through FDA, and then we will take it through a combination of ISTAN and entree, and then we'll take it to this to actually capture not only some of our other federal family, but also some of the DITRA, DOD, those types of things, because we haven't designed it so it's more than bot talks, it's just talks and text. So, and this is you, Omari already talked about this. And this is a new program that ICFAM is putting out too, called Camera. It's being developed under ICFAM, and some of us are part of it. It will put standardized, it would put a lot of this data on a public website for everybody to see. And I think it should be here maybe next year, hopefully. They did lose their person through. The person that was running was gone, you know? So, and in fact, the FDA had an alternative methods work group, and we just heard it was gone, you know, along with half of the office of the commissioner. So we're getting back together. So, and this one, I think you saw this one. One of the other things we're trying to look at, and this is something that OECD is looking at, and also Hopkins, how can we better use of academic data and also better use of legacy data so that we don't have to put a lot of controls in some of these. So let's look at some of the legacy data we have and see how it matches up with that, and also academic data. And I think that's okay, so now Omari talked a little bit about ILMARAC. Okay, ILMARAC, we started ILMARAC in 2018 with EFSA, and we wanted to work together to advance the use of not only new approach methods, but topics in general. So we developed it. We started with 24 food regulators from different countries. We also have JRC on it. We have OECD on it, and we have observers. And we wanted to harmonize different methods for it. Then here's ILMARAC now. Now we're working on it. And there's actually, we took ILMARAC and we moved it from EFSA to BFR, which is in Germany. So now we were be able to add UK to it. UK isn't on this, but we added UK to it. We have, I don't know if that's the last slide I have or not. Okay. So the benefits of ILMARAC is we're going to have international harmonization on risk assessment methodologies. Okay, not just NAMs, but everything, you know. We're working together, so we're having an opportunity to join forces together on these things. And we're looking at a lot of partnerships. What we have is, we have one big meeting a year. Then we have working groups. We have a working group on NAMs that I chair. And under that is looking at in silico, which was one of Christie's big objectives. And we're looking at microphysiological systems for chemical risk assessment, because I think that has a broader use, microphysiological system for chemical use, than for pharmaceuticals. For pharmaceuticals, we have yet to get any data in an IND that has microphysiological system data in it. So we want to look at it. What we're doing is we're working with Texas A&M, Yvonne Russert, to put together an expert dialogue to transmit to all of these communities as a starting point to look at MPS for chemical risk assessment. Yvonne Russert in Tamu is becoming an observer to ILMARAC. So we also have a work group on mixtures. You know, food is always a mixture. It would be nice if it wasn't a mixture, because it would be easier to deal with, but it's a mixture. So BFR is working on how we can put together methods, and they don't necessarily need to be NAMs, to look at mixtures better globally. So he has a global work group on that, and they will be then having an expert dialogue on that. We want to plan also on an expert dialogue in silico. We also have a working group on evidence integration that's chaired by the Netherlands, and the letter is looking at how globally we can put data together better, evidence better together to make it more appropriate for everyone. So these are different work groups they're working on right now. The first two, evidence integration and mixtures, was part of our NAMS group, but they kind of graduated into their own group. So then we grabbed in silico and MPS for chemical risk assessment. So this is, by the way, this is the largest collaboration that FDA has. It's very strong. And what's really exciting about it is that we've got we have a NAMS group at FDA that's looking at it. And we also have a NAMS group in Human Foods Program. And it's chaired by our Deputy Commissioner for Research, Dr. Musser. And then we also work with PARC, which is a partnership. I don't know if people know what PARC is, Partnership for Risk Assessment in Chemicals. That's an EU funded one. I'm done, right? So we also work at ASPIS too. So and there's a new program coming on in the EU called NAMWISE that they've asked us to join too. So I think that you can see this. And then this is the new confidence framework that came out from EPA that's online if people are interested in that. But just to say, we have a very strong program. I think the Human Foods Program has the strongest program at FDA right now, integrated across the entire global food safety group. And I think people, we're going to be doing great things in the future because of that, even with our smaller workforce that we have. That's it. Thank you.